We have Suhail Chandhok with us. Hi, Suhail.
Hi, Ashley. Good to be here.
Two editions of IPL, and then an injury happened.
It was an awful feeling, and when you have your knee just hanging, and then you feel it swell up for months and months and months, and you can't take steps up, up a staircase. You know that you're in trouble. A friend of mine went to Star Sports back in 2014, and I just went to see the studio back then. And on my way out, someone said, "Look, you're not playing cricket anymore. Do you want to do an audition?" And I was like, "What's that?" At Yuva Series, we want to really enhance where kabaddi is.
I absolutely dislike retakes. I'm sure you have a
Yeah.
background in theater, of
Uh,
course, you know.
no, I'm with you.
Yeah. वो पहली बार जो आता है
Yeah.
वो मैं we are ready. Yeah, phone silent.
Yeah.
Your phone is silent? Your phone? Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Off the Record. And we have a very interesting personality today. We have mostly seen him on the record, and it will be very interesting to get to know him today off the record. We have Suhail Chandhok with us. Hi, Suhail.
Hi, Ashley. Good to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. And most of us know who Suhail is, and most of the times he is visible on the screens out there, broadcasting, commentating on sports feed. Suhail, tell our audience, is there anything that you don't do?
At the moment, I'm not sleeping. I guess that's one thing I don't do. But no, I've tried to find balance, and I think time management is the biggest skill that I've tried to learn over the last couple of years and adapt to. It's part of the job. I think when you want to make an impact in sport and juggle three, four different hats, it's this is the time to do it, right? And it's my choice, and I love it. So yeah, I enjoy what I do. There's challenges. We'll talk about a few of those as well,
Yeah.
but. A life in sport is what I've always dreamed of.
Yeah. And most of our audience, they associate you with a sports presenter and commentator, but there are so many things that you do beyond that. You are an entrepreneur, you are the co founder of Elevate Sports India Private Limited, which is into grassroots kabaddi. And I would say sportsmanship is there in your DNA
Yeah.
as well. So we have a lot to unpack from your life today. So just brace yourself up.
Done.
Um, I would say starting from your childhood, you have born in a family of sports person. And I was, researching about you, and I thought, Suhail, how come he landed in kabaddi? He should have been in the motorsports space,
Yeah.
like your father,
Yeah.
your brother, both are in motorsports. How did this happen? Just give our audience a quick idea of how your childhood was.
Yeah.
And by the way, people, he was into theater as well. So the various aspects of your life, it's been very diverse. And I think one thing that is common is your attitude of being a sports person at heart.
No,
Right?
thank you. And I think that's something that I carry with me till today. As I was a professional cricketer, I lost that career with knee surgeries. It was a very tough phase as well. And before that, I think for me, like you said, I was born into a family of sport. I always call myself the black sheep of the family because everyone, not just my dad and my brother, but my granddad, my grandmom, were into motorsport, rallying, and racing. So for me, I was kind of the outcast when I chose cricket and tennis initially. And it was always seen as a positive for me. I always played sport because I enjoyed it. I grew up with a tennis court close to my house, so I started with tennis, played every sport I could possibly get my hands and feet on. Then committed to cricket when I took over captaincy at the late VB Chandrasekhar's academy, and started to take it very, very seriously. And I knew that I had what it took to be a professional cricketer. So for me, that's when the journey to a serious sports person came up. But yeah, I think I was a sports junkie. I would watch back then. DD Sports had Sepak Takraw, which is Malaysian kick volleyball. I would watch that. I would watch table tennis between some random nation. I would watch Kenya versus Zimbabwe cricket whenever it's on. I had posters of an Andy Flower and a Graham Thorpe on my wall, not a Sachin Tendulkar, Rahul Dravid. So it was kind of an absolute sports nut. I was made fun of it by my own family at times, saying, "What the hell are you doing? Why are you following all these sports?" About 20 years down the line, when the gift of the gab to put all those sports together came through, I said, maybe that's why I was following all those sports. So yeah, I grew up in a very free environment to follow sport. I appreciate that from my parents. They always just said, look, as long as your studies go hand in hand with your sports career, that's fine. Sometimes it didn't. I remember turning up to an exam where my economics teacher would just say, Suhail, you'll pass, no? Because all I did in the build up to that was miss exams because of cricket. So, I came out of the exam and said, ma'am, don't worry, I'll more than pass. So, there are times, obviously, where you wonder whether you've got the balance right. But look, as far as sport is concerned, my parents and my brother was someone who I saw him rise from being a chubby kid to being a Formula One driver, and there was enough motivation around to really inspire me to actually take steps to being a serious sportsman.
Yeah, we'll come back to the cricket chapter of your life, but before that, help our audience understand your Chennai connection.
Yeah, I'm a Chennai boy through and through. Look, Madras is home. I still call it Madras because to me, Chennai is the city name. Madras to me is the emotion that we grew up with. It's still home. I live in Bombay. I've been there now 10 years, 11 years. But whenever I say the word Madras, there's a smile on my face.
Yeah.
I still need my tarisada murlakaranga and, proper podi rice. I want home food. I want the comforts of my poriyals from home. And I still carry my podis from home. So I need those comfort foods of proper sambar, not Bangalore sambar. Chennai sambar. So, these are little things that for me bring me comfort. And yeah, Chennai is always home to me. I'm a loud and proud Chennai boy, even though I live in Bombay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And coming back to the cricket chapter because that's an important aspect of your
Yeah.
life. And for our audience, if you don't know, Suhail Chandhok has played for IPL, our very own RCB, and you have played for two editions of IPL. So, and then an injury happened, and
Yeah, I mean, I would say an edition and a half in some sense. I joined the side in the build up to the Champions League in 2009. Anil Kumble was actually the captain and mentor then, and we laugh about it now because, for me, I came into that edition hoping, obviously, for a big year in 2010. I came off a really good year in England and Australia before that, and had a pile of runs and wickets coming in, and was just really excited by the prospect of being a part of the IPL and being part of Indian domestic cricket again, and hopefully actually playing Ranji Trophy more than the IPL. Funnily enough, that was my goal again coming back to India. And then Jan 2010, I had my first knee surgery. Just normal, on the field, I was sliding, picking up the ball, turn and throw, and I just felt my ligament snap, and just it was an awful feeling. And when you have your knee just hanging and then you feel it swell up for months and months and months and you can't take steps up up a staircase, you know that you're in trouble. I had corrective surgery a couple of years later, but it just, it didn't feel the same. You start to fail fitness tests and things like that, and somewhere down the line you have to take a very tough decision. You have to, I think, swallow your ego. It's, I think, probably the toughest phase of my life. I think for about 8 months, my parents will remember, because I never saw friends of mine back then because I just lived in my parents' house in a room, and I just did not want to leave the room because I thought, I've worked so hard for so many years, and finally you have that contract in front of you. Finally, you have that one chance to fulfill your potential, and it's, gone in a moment. So I think when I look back, there's a lot more. If Suhail today had the same surgery, I think my rehab would have been better. My understanding of what to do, which doctor to go to, would have been better. Back then in 2010, I don't think we had the knowledge in India. I didn't certainly have the knowledge here in India as well, and I think we didn't have the wherewithal to understand how important it was. I was a 22-year-old who just wanted to get back on the field, and that eagerness to get back
yeah,
meant that you're rushing the process, right? And I think, who knows, maybe all of that was meant to happen. If all that didn't happen, I won't be sitting here today with a few different hats. So I
yeah,
always believe that things happen for a reason, and I think that if you believe in it, it can happen for a good reason.
yeah,
Sometimes you don't see that 2 weeks down the line. Sometimes you don't see it 2 months down the line. Sometimes you only see it 10 years down the line. You'll always have some regret. I always have some regret that I didn't fulfill my potential as a cricketer. But I think I live with the fact that dreams have changed, and I'm able to fulfill other dreams and hopefully fulfill other people's dreams as well.
And you are shining like a star
Oh,
in the
thank you.
present as well.
Thank you. Thanks. I
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
it.
Yeah, and also, I personally, I have started training for sprints again after a
Nice.
gap of 15, 17 years.
Wow.
And I realize, oh God, it's so hard. I mean, during childhood, it used to be easy, like just run fast.
And you have no pain the next day.
No pain. And I trained for a month and then I injured my knee. It was last to last week
Yeah.
and I felt pathetic.
Yeah.
I felt I actually felt like, oh, I my knee won't come back to normal again.
Yeah.
It was
Trust
that.
me, sitting like this for an hour, I'm sure my knee is going to take a while to unlock itself after as well.
Yeah. So what you said about
Yeah.
your injury and it's so many athletes they go through
Yeah.
this, and unfortunately, we only glorify and celebrate the achievement side of being a sports
Yeah.
person, but these are the harsh and the dark realities that an athlete has to go through.
Absolutely. And I think we don't speak about so many careers that fall off the radar, right? I mean, look, I was fortunate enough to pick myself up later, and it didn't come easy. I tell you, I did random things in between. I started a sports PR and marketing company. I was a photographer in between. I did a Tamil movie. I mean, there were so many random things I did in between before I found myself again. And, if I didn't find myself, I could have just caved in and given up. And I see a lot of sports people, unfortunately, when you have worked so hard 10, 15 years for one goal and that goal is taken away from you through injury, it's so hard to reset your mind and actually believe that there's something else out there
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
So we always speak about all these incredible stories and journeys of success, but for every journey of success is about 100 journeys where you don't hear of these people anymore. They could have been the next Neeraj Chopra or the
Yeah.
next, Mary Kom, but you just don't hear of them because they've had that one shot at it. They've lost that one shot and their careers just fallen by the wayside. And I see this with so many cricketers. In team sports, it's not just injury, it's maybe you don't get picked for so many other reasons, as we all know, political or whatever they might be, because you can always justify not getting selected in a team sport. And there goes a very bright cricketer or footballer or hockey player,
Kabaddi player.
kabaddi player,
Yeah.
exactly. So there's so many other things that are going on in a team sport, in individual sport that I think it's that's why I guess investing in grassroots talent, investing before people become stars, is very very important to me and to many others. Thankfully today in India.
Yeah. Yeah. And Suhail, your career so far has been, you spoke about doing a movie. I think with Ajit, you did a movie. And there are very few people like theater, movie, sports, and everything. And I don't think there is any other sports commentator who is also an entrepreneur
Yeah, I
and
mean
a
I can't think
successful
of.
one.
I can't say successful yet. I would like to believe success is a metric that's constantly changing. But yeah, I'm with you. When I came in to commentary, I came in by complete fate, destiny, you can call it whatever it is. A friend of mine went to Star Sports back in 2014, and I said to her, "Hey, you're going to Star Sports? I just want to see the studio." I was a Chennai boy in awe of this whole setup of TV and sports TV, and I never thought it could be a reality. And I just went to see the studio back then, and on my way out, someone said, "Look, you're not playing cricket anymore. Do you want to do an audition?" And I was like, what's that? What do you want me to do? They just said speak about sport for 2.5, 3 minutes. I said, okay, cool, let's do it. So
That's easy for me.
spoke about motorsport and tennis and cricket and kabaddi, or actually not kabaddi, because I knew nothing about kabaddi back then. Yeah, cricket and tennis and motorsport for about 3 minutes. Didn't hear back from Star, which I now know is an understood thing for about 2.5 months. And then they, got back and said, management really liked your audition. Can you come back? I happened to be in Bombay again on that day. So I think somewhere the stars were aligning for me to make that shift into sports broadcast.
Yeah, and actually, I was while as a part of my research about you, I read once you gave a statement that how your current work, which is sports commentary, is a very good intersection between theater and sports.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect marriage, right? After I did that film, a lot of people, were talking about what's next, what the next film was going to be. I was looking at various things there. But let's be honest, I think in the world of films, if you don't have a godfather, or if you're not from that world, it's a very, very volatile world. It's a very insecure world. And for me, I'm a sports person at heart. I'm not a film person at heart. I'm not doing it for the fame. I want to make an impact in whatever I do. And for me, the ability to do be a sports broadcaster was kind of the perfect love for the media, and also love for sport coming together. So I actually turned down a film in 2015 at the prospect of doing the Cricket World Cup with Star, and I'm so glad. I have no regrets, because I really do believe that this was the perfect career choice.
Definitely, and I'm sure the audience will agree to this.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. And moving ahead, Suhail, how did entrepreneurship happen to you? How did you get into it? It's very different.
It is. I think there was always an itch to move towards the management side of sport, and as I said, I think making an impact in sport. And it's funny, my co-founder Arvind Shivdas and I would keep seeing each other at random conferences or random platforms where I was either moderating a panel or speaking on a panel as a broadcaster. But we would, by then Kabaddi had started in 2014, had sort of gone a few years, and I had this itch to do more in the sport. He would meet me and talk about how he was looking at the data side of sport as well, and he was on the Chennai Super Kings auction table at the IPL. So I had familiarity with what he was doing as well, and with the Puneri Pulton team back then. So we would keep chatting and saying we should do something, we should do something, we should do something, and then that itch grew. We kept thinking about what we could do, how we could grow the sport a bit more. We just knew that kabaddi was a very low hanging fruit. We knew that it was a sport by then, by 2017 18, that didn't need to create an audience. There was already an audience created, 200 million plus in the first season, and then more and more on from there. So we knew that we didn't have to create an audience, and then it sort of all started to come together. We started Kabaddi Adda firstly together way back. That was an instant success. We then changed things around. We had several issues, unfortunately. One of them with a co-founder, and I won't go into details there. But
Yeah,
that's
I'm aware of the
yeah,
story. Yeah.
exactly, and that's a challenge of
That
a
it
startup as well,
happens. Yeah,
right? I
yeah.
think
Yeah.
you feel very let down
Yeah.
when something like that happens. We had to start from scratch
Yeah.
all over again. It's funny though, actually, I keep telling my wife or friends of ours that it feels like every time my life has always gone like that, there's one knock, and then it comes back down, and then it makes me restart, right? Whether it was my injury, whether it was anything that was kind of in a comfortable position. And I always say that's why a place of comfort, I believe this truly. I think a place of comfort is a dangerous place.
Yeah.
I always think there has to be, and my wife said this beautifully. She teaches in a school of philosophy, and she said, you have to have right tension,
Yeah.
like a guitar string, right? If a guitar string is not the right tension, it doesn't make the right tune.
Yeah.
And so you've got to have the right tension in life. If you don't have tension in life, if you're comfortable, I don't think you're living right
It's
in that
boring.
sense. It's boring. Sometimes I would love a bit more boring life. Our boring life will be great if we can just sail smooth for a while. But I think life needs to have that right tension. And
Yeah.
if you have that right tension, that right bit of a push, a challenge, knockdowns, I think you need a little bit of character,
Yeah.
and you can either come back strong or you can wilt, and that's on you.
And I think you were able to pull off this because you are a sports person at heart.
Maybe, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah,
People keep, because with Bridge also, it's been almost 7 years, and
yeah,
people keep asking me what keeps you so
yeah,
motivated. And you have seen COVID as a business, it was not easy, and so many ups and
yeah,
downs and all. I honestly, Sohail, मुझे भी इसका आंसर नहीं पता था. Okay,
yeah,
and then I contemplated that, okay, why?
yeah,
What am I getting? Probably I would have earned more money
yeah.
doing some other high paying job, right?
Absolutely. No,
But
and you're bang on. Credit to you guys. You guys do non-cricket sport, as we are trying to invest in as well, and it's not easy.
yeah,
The monies are all going towards cricket. As much as I love cricket, I know that the support needed for other sports is 10x. What you guys do is admirable in that sense, and to stay the course is the most
yeah.
important. You've just got to keep grinding at times on days where you think everything's going to fall apart. So I think that's the most important thing, and if you have a good team around you that
Yeah.
believes in that, I think that's the most important.
Yeah, and what I like about
I'm just
what
going to
I
adjust my knee. There we go.
that's okay. What I like about my work is that I love the feeling of being surrounded by sports
Yeah,
persons. I love the feeling that I'm surrounded by people who don't give up that
yeah.
easily. Sometimes it's just so important.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine after talking to you, after hearing your story about how your injury took away your
Yeah.
cricket career, and even then you bounced back from there, and where you are today, it's an inspiration in itself.
No, thank you. And I actually think that I draw a lot of parallels between the world of startups and entrepreneurship and sport, because I like to believe that no 2 days are the same. It's why I love what I do, even in the broadcast side, right? You go into a fresh day not knowing the script. I know if I'm in a 9 to 5 job, I've got to go there. There's going to be a presentation, or I know my routine. Whereas when you go, whether it's broadcast or whether it's your startup, or whether it's a Umumba site that I'm now a CEO of as well. When you turn up on a new day, you don't know what the hell is going to hit you, and I think there's an excitement about that. There's a roller coaster that comes with it, but I think it's exciting because it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you thinking. You have to problem solve
Yeah,
more than anything else, and I think that problem solving capability is something that's very very important to me. Quick
yeah,
decision making, as in sport. When you're
yeah,
a batter, you've got to make split second decisions. I think when you're an entrepreneur, when we were on Shark Tank, for instance, we had to make very quick
yeah,
decisions, and we do that on a day-to-day basis
yeah,
with conversations that we have.
yeah. And also realizing that how entrepreneurship is a long game. There's
Yeah.
nothing instant. Similar to sports, if you see the kind of effort and time that goes behind the
Yeah.
sports person's career, right?
The trouble is today everyone's on an Instagram reel thinking, you're going to make a quick buck from
Yeah,
instant gratification. I think the that's the hard part today. I think with this generation, to attract talent that can be patient, that can be loyal, whether it's with a kabaddi player in a team, or whether it's with someone that joins you in your startup, or
yeah,
anywhere else. I think that's the biggest challenge, is to find loyal people,
yeah,
and that's it's a challenge that I'm sure you face. It's a
yeah,
challenge
yeah,
that we face, and that's why I'm very thankful to the team at Elevate. We have our core team that has been with us through COVID, and to me, I think that is the biggest plus point of this company, and credit to Arvind, Danya, Vikas,
yeah.
and the entire team, because I think the way that this team has stuck together through tough times, it shows you that they're here to stay and they believe in the product.
I remember my conversation with Shruti
Yeah,
during COVID, and actually, I was talking to her for the first time. It was a telephonic conversation, and that call went on for some 40 minutes.
yeah,
And it was so good. We just connected instantly, and it was only 5 minutes of work talk, and remaining was, oh, how is life?
yeah.
As if you're my
You guys
best
knew
friend.
each other,
Yeah,
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 yeah. And that's the key, right? Like even Shruti and our entire team, and
yeah,
you can see it just from one conversation. That's the kind of people that we've always been very particular about hiring. I think we've got a very good hiring process in terms of how we screen people. It's not just about their CV before that. It's actually more about what's not on the CV,
yeah,
and what they bring to the table as a human being. And it's nice to have co-founders that believe in the same process, to be able to hire in a similar manner as well.
yeah, yeah. So, Suhail, you are the co-founder of Elevate, who owns Yuva Kabaddi Series. For our audience, Yuva Kabaddi Series is India's first all-year round tournament, and Yuva Kabaddi Series has hosted more than 10 editions, which is commendable. And this is for under 23
Yeah.
players, Kabaddi players. So, Suhail, why Kabaddi?
Look, I think when Kabaddi started, or Pro Kabaddi started in 2014, it was a resurrection, right? There's a couple of reasons I think Kabaddi strikes a chord with India. A, we are the best in the world at it, barring 2018 when Iran beat
Yeah,
us. Two, I think the way the sport has regained its fervor in 2014 was brilliant, and credit to Star for the way they did that as well and rebuilt the sport. Three, I think the people that are involved in the sport from a stakeholder perspective in Pro Kabaddi were very, very strong, and therefore that filtered down. But more than anything else, I think the appetite for the sport, it is Indian.
mm,
It is our very own sport. It is, again, my Chennai roots come in because the sport, the name, Kabaddi, comes from Kaipidi.
mm,
Kaipidi means holding hands, and that's a Tamil name, Tamil term, Kaipidi, holding hands. And when you think of what that means, it's not just holding hands for a tackle, but it's being with each other, and just the essence of that sport being rooted to the ground, playing it on the mud. Yesterday we played on the mat with the glitz of the lights and everything else. But there's a true essence of the sport that's very true to India. And when you see the way that it was brought back to life and revolutionized, I'm not kidding. I still remember. I think it was 26th of July 2014. I don't think I'll ever forget that day because that was the day Pro Kabaddi started, and I saw the lights come on for the first time at the dome at the NSCI on the 25th, the day before. And as soon as the lights came on during our rehearsal, I said, damn, we're onto something special here. And at that time, people were laughing at the fact that there was going to be a Kabaddi League. When I put my hand up to do commentary for it, it was because I wanted an opportunity in commentary and I knew cricket was not going to be easy to get your first opportunity with. I said, let me take a risk. I didn't know much about Kabaddi apart from the fact that there were seven players each. So I really dug into, former players and understood it. But to me, there was something very exciting about the prospect of that league. And it went from strength to strength day one from day one. And I think people really committed to that first season, and by doing so, it just unlocked the potential of India's very own sport. So to me, it then became about how can we grow this sport from the ground up. And the one thing I will say is that we very early on adopted a copy left policy where we wanted everyone to win, and we didn't want to cage this product, right? We said, if we can send the product out, if we can grow the ecosystem, if we can grow the number of stakeholders that come into Kabaddi, everyone wins. We don't want to be the only people that do it. This is still our policy. At Yuva Series, we give out match highlights straight after to multiple Kabaddi influencers across the country. We give opportunities to so many people across the country, across whether it's physiotherapy or broadcast or coaching panels or our officials. We want to really uh, enhance where Kabaddi is, and I think if you can do that at a ground level, if you can bring an organized manner to Kabaddi for the rest of the year, that was critical because Pro Kabaddi took care of the elite, but
Yeah,
that was only 2 months of the year.
yeah,
What about the other 10 months? So when the other 10 months was not being organized, there was an opportunity, A. B, there was a need to bring it all together and not scatter it everywhere. Because I think that was for us what we needed to do. It was just a hodgepodge of random tournaments. Someone will call and say, "Aaj 50 lakh ka tournament hai Haryana mein. Aaj 2 lakh ka tournament hai Karnataka mein." But that'll be 3 days before, and some random teams will turn up. Now, why not bring that together? Why not, create a funnel where kids who are 18, 19, 20 actually can be professional players? When they go back home, they can say, Ma, Pa, I want to be a kabaddi player. I can earn revenue from it.
yeah.
I can make it my livelihood. Here's an opportunity for me to be noticed by somebody. I mean, the stories are crazy, Arshi, and I'll come to some of them, but it gives me goosebumps to think some of the players who are maybe earning 10,000 rupees a year from kabaddi are now earning 96 lakhs, 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs. It's life changing, not just for them, for their communities, for their villages, for their families, for the next three generations almost. It's incredible to see the talent,
Yeah.
but the lack of opportunity that existed back then. And I say this with a lot of humility, but I think what Yuva Series has done is actually changed lives in the last few years.
It's commendable. It's insane the amount of work that has gone behind it and the beneficiaries that you have mentioned, right?
Yeah,
So, just help our audience understand how
sure.
does the Yuva Kabaddi Series program functions, right?
So we started off with a thought of bringing the NCAA model to Kabaddi, right? The NCAA is the model that breeds talent into the NBA in America, similar to Formula 2 to Formula 1 or any feeder series to an elite level series, right? The difference being in India, there's no college Kabaddi, right? So the
Yeah.
NCAA model had to be adapted. What's that model, therefore, in terms of adaptation? Academies. In India, academies are the bright spark of all Kabaddi talent. So the first few years was literally about going on the ground. Vikas, Arvind, myself would go to random places. We've stayed in little huts in Haryana and Rindhana and various other parts of the country just to find stories, talent, scout academies, look at talent that comes through. Credit to our entire team that vetted a lot of academies over the first few years, got the talent to come together. We then said, okay, how can we funnel this talent? And we needed, therefore, to work with state kabaddi associations. We started off working with two associations way back in 2022. Our first Yuva Kabaddi series was in May 2022. And from then on, today we work with 23 state federations. We've had more than 2,000 Yuva Kabaddi players being impacted. We've had more than 300 match officials that have worked with us, many of whom who've progressed to Pro Kabaddi. This year, I think in just the NYP program alone, I think 65% of players have come from the Yuva Kabaddi series. So suddenly now, for a franchise that's in Pro Kabaddi, including myself when I change hats and become
Yeah.
CEO of U Mumbai. There's a very simple method to finding talent. It's at the Yuva series. You know that the country's best talent is playing that. All of the young talent is coming to us and saying, sir, अगला सीरीज कब है सर, अगला सीरीज कब है सर, या तो आगे का रास्ता दिखाने के लिए थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू सर. These are the kind of messages you get from players, and then you start to understand that they really do value the Yuva series, not just them but teams. Arvind and I have been catching up with a bunch of the other CEOs from the Pro Kabaddi League, and everyone's just first said thanks guys for taking the time and the energy and the money to put this together, because it didn't exist. So it started in May 2022. It's grown since then, 10 editions, including a women's edition of
Yeah.
the Yuva series. We want to build on that a lot more as well, because we do see a lot of women's kabaddi talent coming through, and you have to believe in that talent for it to then shine. So yeah, 10 editions feels like it was only yesterday, I think, that it all started. But yeah, it's been tireless work. We've had a long-term media rights partnership, which I think outside of Pro Kabaddi and the IPL, no one actually has a long-term paid media rights partnership. So we're very proud to be a youth series that secured funding and media rights partnerships for a long term. And credit to Dream 11 and Fan Code for believing in us and believing in the product and wanting to make an impact themselves.
Yeah, and the mass appeal that kabaddi has. While you were talking,
Yeah,
I have grown up playing kabaddi,
yeah,
and my hometown is in one of the districts of Bihar.
yeah.
And in fact, in a very rural way, there are various categories of kabaddi.
Correct.
Playing with one leg,
Yeah,
and we used to call fun में ऐसे बुढ़िया कबड्डी खेल रहे हैं, लंगड़ी कबड्डी खेल रहे हैं, and things like that. So there's a lot of memories that
yeah,
goes back to the kabaddi, and I would really encourage and request your team to have more women participation,
yeah.
because I have grown up seeing so many girls play. So I
It's
don't think
amazing.
there is lack of players.
Absolutely not. I'm totally with you. I will take those words on, and hopefully we can get the bridge to be a real strong partner with us when we do more women's kabaddi, because I do think it needs to be showcased
Yeah,
to the world. It's one of the few sports where actually the court is adapted for women as well. It's slightly smaller in terms of the lines, very nicely packaged. Therefore, women's kabaddi is beautiful to watch. The skill sets are very different to
yeah,
the men's skill sets, which is why it's nice to watch. It's really, really for me, it's very engaging to see the way they go about it. The coordination is very different. The way they talk to each other on court is very different. Like I said, the way they utilize their skills is different. So I enjoy it. I'd like to believe that there's going to be a lot of support for us when we do more women's kabaddi. So yeah, certainly on the plans.
yeah, definitely. And you also spoke about how, after hearing you, what I am understanding is that Yuva Kabaddi series has kind of provided a pathway for the kabaddi players towards PKL,
Yeah,
right? And in doing so, Suhail, if you can share with our audience any top three, what were the
sure.
top three challenges to make
Oh,
this happen?
challenges. Honestly, first challenge was just to bring it to life. There were times where we borrowed money from friends and family, and we ran an edition because we didn't have the capabilities, but we believed that we were very close to getting the funding to doing it. One of the challenges was actually just putting it all together, to get the right team to put a broadcast together. From where we started, if you look back at our first few additions to where we are today. Today, our graphics team is all in-house. For by the way, because we run a strong tech team as well. Danya and Arvind come from a tech background too, and the tech team that we have in-house, we do our own graphics, we do our own production. We've teamed up with a broadcast team that has experience in doing cricket World Cups and IPLs. So we've got a very good team in terms of camera people and the way the product comes together. So when you see the product today, it looks like a Pro Kabaddi product. As seasoned, we've actually tweaked our product to innovate in different ways. But one of the other challenges was, to be honest, I think fighting people that want to bring us down. And I think when you succeed at something, there's always going to be people that are going to point fingers at something that they should have done before you've done it, and therefore are trying to find ways that they can corner you and bring you down. The minute you see people that perhaps do that, and perhaps are trying to use methods that are not ethical, I think to me it's a positive because it shows that you're actually
Yeah.
doing something right.
Yeah.
Whenever you see that there are people uh, trying to bog you down, I think it's a sign that you're threatening people. And if you're threatening people, you're doing something right and you're making an impact.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that we've shaken up the system. I like the fact that we've done things that no one has done before. And I like the fact that we are contributing. At the end of the day, why we kept churning on and churning on and churning on is the fact that I truly believed, and our entire team truly believed, that the impact that we're making cannot ever take away from the product. And therefore, if we are creating such a big impact, the impact alone will ensure that the product, the players, the ecosystem is gaining enough and more than a couple of people who are trying to bring the product down.
Yeah.
And that belief for us ensured that we kept going on. And that belief ensured that somehow or the other we kept surviving. And yeah, COVID was a really tough time because we had a very different product. We pivoted the entire business strategy. And, we believe that today the physical product that you see is a product of a lot of changes that had to come. So I think the challenges are day in and day out. Every day is a challenge, right? Working with a federation that doesn't exist, you know, working with
Working with multiple
working with
federations.
multiple state federations. Each one has a different funder. Each one has different wants for their team. Each one will have different asks. How do we ensure that the players are safe? How do we ensure that the sport is clean? How do we ensure that the players are gaining not just monetarily, but how are the players gaining from financial literacy? How are they gaining in terms of mental health? How can we contribute more to players as a whole so that when they go to Pro Kabaddi, they are ready? All of these things are part of the challenges that we face. But overall, when you see the stories, I mentioned one of the players, Ashu Malik, who went to Pro Kabaddi and is today on close to a crore of rupees per season. One of the players last year, Arjun Rathi, at the auction. This was a young guy in a small town of Uttarakhand. He played one of the Yuva series. His team didn't qualify past the first round. So his team was exited, but this player was so good that we then utilized him in a different team in the next edition, one of the South teams in Pondicherry. So as a result, he at least continued as a good player. He continued through. Today he's with the Bengal Warriors on a 40 lakh plus contract. So it goes to show you that these guys, if we see talent and we're able to pick them up in different pockets, we want to give them the value that they deserve. Nitin Dhankad was another player last year that shook up things. We have Ajit Chawan at U Mumbai, Gokulakandan Mukilan, a few other players as well. I think, I mean, I'm just naming a handful of players, right? But the number of players that have benefited from the program to then go on to playing Pro Kabaddi and changing their own lives, it's incredible. And all these players, today I sit here as also a CEO of Umumba, but I can tell you when I step into the elevator of a hotel when multiple teams are staying there, every Yuva series player comes up to me and says, "Sir, hi sir, thank you so much sir. Hi sir, thank you so much sir. रास्ता दिखाया और हम आज जो भी हम कर रहे हैं ये युवा सीरीज की वजह से ही है." And I think that's something that is so heartening for our entire team, that
Yeah.
all the players always come back, thank us, and remember why they've had the opportunity to play Pro Kabaddi, right? And I mean, yeah, it's credit to our entire team.
या एंड इन कहानियों के वजह से जो बाकी लोग इंस्पायर हो रहे हैं दैट इज
Yeah,
दैट्स इवन मोर द इम्पैक्ट राइट
yeah,
लाइक इनके गांव में जितने लोग देख रहे हैं अभी वो
yeah,
ये सपना देख सकते हैं कि अगर हम खेलें तो हम भी पैसे
yeah.
बना सकते हैं सो
Absolutely. And it doesn't just restrict itself to the players. A lot of our officials are now officials in Pro Kabaddi. They got their first chance with us. One of our commentators, Harshit, we've worked with him so much over the
आई नो
years.
दिस बॉय या
So Harshit has now made his debut in Pro Kabaddi as a Hindi commentator, and I'm so happy.
या
Most people say, "Arey yaar, yeah, he's gone now to thing." No, always for us, copyleft policy, we want people to grow.
या
Harshit will always come back and work with us. Those same officials who have gone back will come back and work with us. For us, we want to see people progress. We want to see people grow. That is
दैट्स हाउ इट
eh,
शुड बी
that's how it should be.
या
Unfortunately, many people don't see it the same way.
आई नो
But I think for us, we truly believe that to make an impact, you have to believe and be secure in yourself, in your own product, and allow the product and the people around it to grow.
या
If they are growing, it means that you're doing something right.
yeah absolutely and the last 5-10 minutes does justice to off the record title of our content. that even with bridge, because people stick to what we do,
Yeah.
and my team members, and they stay for like 3 4 years, and that too in a scenario where people just change jobs in
Yeah.
startups, right?
Yeah.
It's very easy and quick.
Yeah.
But then when team members from my organization, they go and join other bigger organizations, and honestly, I don't feel a sense of envy or
Yeah. Hurt or yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's like कि, I hope this analogy will be right, but it's like कि अपने बच्चे को हमने नर्सरी क्लास में लिया, उसको 10 12 तक पढ़ाया, अभी हम उसको कॉलेज भेज रहे
Correct.
हैं. So it's
Correct.
actually that feeling.
Absolutely, and I think
Yeah.
that's how it should be. I keep going back to these things because for us, it is not just about our growth as a company, but the growth of everyone else. And like I said, if tomorrow someone from our ecosystem or our team goes on and becomes, a manager at a Pro Kabaddi team or a CEO of another company or a league, no doubt they'll remember that the stepping stone was through us, and we always have a great relationship, and that's how it should be.
Yeah.
You don't want to hold on to someone. It's like, like you just said, if my mother tells me, "Hey, matja, 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 don't go, I need you to stay at home," eventually when you do break out, you're going to go crazy.
Yeah.
So you want people to fly the coop, spread their wings and really succeed. And that's the beauty of doing something right. And I think that's why we've always believed that the reason we're doing this is not to restrict talent, it's not to restrict partners in kabaddi. We want the ecosystem to grow. I know I've said this multiple times, but that to me is a be all and end all. We want the entire ecosystem to grow. If someone tomorrow comes and starts another rival to a Yuva Kabaddi series, fantastic. We know how much we've done in terms of putting this to use and actually bringing it out. But if tomorrow someone comes, I'm so happy because
Yeah.
it means more players are going to benefit.
Yeah.
So, we'll work with them.
Yeah.
Happy to work with them. Right. And I think that's going to be the one thing that we have to learn from. Many other sports have done outside of India, I think, better than we have in India. Because when one person succeeds, it's always a threat. Oh my God, someone else is doing it. Let's bring them down.
Yeah.
But if someone else succeeds and you can see something to take from them, A, it gives you motivation to be better
Yeah.
and to do more. And B, you might have someone to work with,
Yeah.
right? So I think, you should be an enabler.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that.
Absolutely. And instead of biting each other, we all should collaborate. The
Absolutely.
key word is collaborate
Yeah.
here. And we should think of, okay, how do we increase the size of the pie,
Yeah.
the entire sports ecosystem? How can we grow it together? That's the thought process that we have to move ahead with.
100%. I think there's two things here, right? One is if you think about instant gratification, you can't think about growing the pie.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the big tussle comes, right? If everyone sees someone as a threat and says, you are stepping on my monetary benefits that I could be earning today and tomorrow, that's why you're not able to see the larger piece, which is the pie.
Yeah.
Whereas if you grow the pie, that small piece also is growing.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that in 10 years, what you could have earned today, if you just grew the pie, it's compound interest,
Yes.
essentially,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? The beauty of compounding that everyone speaks of, from a Warren Buffett to anyone that you can
Yeah.
think of, the beauty of compounding comes to this as well.
Yeah.
If you grow the entire ecosystem and you grow the pie, you will benefit.
Yeah.
And when people say, what's in it for me today, I keep saying, be patient. Let's grow it properly. Let's grow the product, and then let's think about what's in it for you.
Yeah.
And that's why when I speak to a lot of people that are growing leagues as well today, there's dime a dozen leagues coming around. The price points for a league franchise today are sometimes exorbitant.
Yeah.
And I keep saying, why?
It doesn't
Get
make
the
sense.
exactly get the right people in early.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think credit to Mashal and Anand Mahindra and Pro Kabaddi back then. The pricing then was a crore and a half, right? But they got the right people in.
Yeah.
They got the Bachchans, they got Mrs. Screwvala, they got so many others, the Kotak family,
Yeah.
several others, that were reputable people that for them, it was about staying the course.
Yeah.
It's very easy to find owners who, when everything is rosy, they'll be there. But when, for lack of a better word, when shit hits the roof,
Yeah.
you want people who will stay the course and are not trying to make a quick buck.
Yeah.
And I think that's when it really matters the kind of people that you get. And that's why I always say, don't be greedy early. Firm up your product, get the product right, and think about your profits, your profitability, your revenues down the line, and
Yeah.
that's absolutely key. Same thing with us. I can proudly say that Elevate is a profitable startup.
Yeah.
There aren't many in our country. The valuation game is such that you don't need to be as such. We are very, very cognizant of the fact that we want to give back to our investors. We're very careful about how we spend our money. We're a very efficiently run company, and yeah, we are profitable because we run it in a way that we're not thinking about today's
Yeah.
profitability and
Yeah.
today's earnings,
Yeah.
right? We're thinking about, okay, let's grow the product, let's limit what we're doing, and in 5 years' time, in 3 years' time, in 10 years' time, we know that we will reap the benefits.
Yeah.
Dhoni talks about the process. I believe process.
Absolutely. And even in the past 5, 7 years, we have seen so many startups emerge
Yeah,
and then they shut
disappear.
shop.
Yeah.
And the only reason is what you said right now, self belief and time and the compounding, because um, people don't have the patience to do
Yes.
the same thing again and again,
Bang on.
and giving up quickly. And unfortunately, I think, especially sports,
Yeah.
is not a sector
No.
to have this kind of attitude.
No, it's really tough. And, I've had the pleasure of spending a lot of time with many people who've invested in sport, be it OGQ or JSW or Go Sports. They're all very, very close friends of mine. And I've spent a lot of time with several people that, lead these teams. And I see the work that they put in day
Yeah,
in and day out. It's tireless, it's thankless at times. But, when you see an athlete go to the Asian Games or a para athlete coming away with medals, the enriching feeling that you get
yeah,
is so rewarding. And similar for us when we see a Yuva Kabaddi Series player go on to Pro Kabaddi and make an impact, and score points. It's a beautiful feeling. Even if for me today wearing a different hat, they score points against
yeah,
U Mumbai, I still smile somewhere,
yeah,
and it's a lovely feeling that we've made something like this a reality. We've been an enabler.
yeah,
They are the players. They have done it themselves. We are just an enabler. We're a catalyst along their path, and we're just glad that we could give them a platform where they could shine and show that talent, because otherwise where would they be? So
yeah,
many players with such incredible talent would have just been hidden, would
yeah,
have just fallen by the wayside, and that Arjun Rati is an example.
yeah,
If our team didn't think about placing him in a different team, giving him more of an opportunity, maybe no one would have noticed him, and he'd be sitting in his village today playing the same odd tournaments that are 50,000 ya 1 lakh ka tournaments or whatever it might
yeah.
be, and that's your career and that's your life. But today, he came back to a roaring reception. I'll get our team to share those videos with you guys,
Wow.
but very inspiring, very, very inspiring.
Yeah. And I'm very much intrigued because, as I said, that I come from a place where kabaddi is a household term,
Yeah.
and right now we have the internet, we have smartphone, the penetration is a lot more higher. I really wish mere time pe Yuva Kabaddi series hota. um, but for our audience, Suhail, let's say if anybody watching this video from any remote part of the
Yeah.
country, um, if they want to play, participate, or if they want to get associated with
Yeah.
YKS for any of the staff work, how do they reach out to you?
Very easy. Head across to our website. Yuva Kabaddi Series is everywhere on the internet.
Yeah,
We've got a very active Instagram page. So whether it's our website or our Instagram page, you'll see the links here, I'm sure.
yeah,
And you can head across to both those pages. We're all very active. Vikas is
yeah,
someone who leads our team and is very active. Shruti is the other one that they can get in touch with as well from a hiring perspective, or from talent that wants to come in. We're always scouting talent. I think the only thing is that we work with the associations, so it's very important that we vet this talent. Otherwise, you can imagine the thousands and thousands of players that are coming through on a daily basis from the world of kabaddi. But we, like I said, we want to be enablers, not just for the players, but we want to be enablers for coaches, for physios, for marketing kids, for people who want to work in sponsorship and sports management. We work already with a lot of sports management institutes, and a lot of volunteers,
hmm,
a lot of interns that we try and shape, and then we bring on board after the best of them. So we're always looking for good talent. not
Yeah.
just on the mat, but off the mat as well.
Yeah, and you know, I on a personal capacity also, I always try to spread the word that, hey, there are so many career options when
Correct.
it comes to sports, and
Correct.
it's not just when if you are playing actively.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the awareness level is not that high.
Yeah.
You
I
know.
mean, my life is an example, right? I stopped
Yeah,
playing. I stopped
yeah,
playing and built a career in
yeah,
sport.
yeah,
And I think, I can talk about sport as a way of life and a career for hours, because I think today, especially, the options are limitless.
yeah,
Limitless. You're a great example. We are an example.
yeah,
So many others that are doing so many other different things are examples
yeah,
that in sport, if you're not a player, you can still have a very successful career. You
yeah,
can be a data analyst, you can work in marketing, you can be a physio, you can be a trainer, you can do so many things, you can be a coach.
yeah,
You can do so much in the world of sport. You just have to have the right inclination,
yeah,
you have to work hard, you have to be a good person,
yeah.
and I think it helps to be loyal, of course.
Yeah, and a couple of weeks ago, I was having a conversation with the legendary swimming coach Nihar Amin,
Yeah,
and at his center, and I was surprised to see young women coaches, and they have come all the way from the northeastern part of the country, Assam,
yeah,
Tripura, and I was like amazed that wow, look at the power of sport,
yeah,
how people are being drawn
yeah.
from one part of the country to another.
And that's amazing, right? And that's what everyone should aspire to do. We
Yeah,
always keep joking that the one of the goals of Yuva Kabaddi Series is to find talent from Kashmir to Kanyakumari.
yeah,
We're very close to it.
yeah,
In fact, we're very close to, I think, doing an event in Kashmir at some point as well. And I know there's a lot of interest there. There is already talent from Kanyakumari. There's already talent from Kashmir,
yeah,
and we've got and seen a lot of it as well. So today it makes me proud that we are a pan India product, and I know not many people can say that about a growing sport,
yeah,
right? Kabaddi is still not an established sport. It's
yeah,
still a growing sport. Yes, it's 10 years in, but it's only 10 years in,
yeah,
and people forget that. People forget that cricket's success started with 1983 and then sprouted and only got shaped
yeah.
in the mid 2000s, and with the success of that T20 World Cup perhaps, and it grew from there. So the shaping of a sport takes a long time. It took
It
cricket
does.
40 years,
Yep.
but we've learned, I guess, a lot from the fact that cricket has done that.
Yeah.
And so we can fast track the learnings.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important. The learnings today are being taken from the fact that cricket has adapted to a T20, a T10, whatever other format, the way they've tweaked it for television, the way they've tweaked it for sponsorship. So we're able to learn,
Hmm.
right? And that's why I always say cricket is in a separate bracket. Don't compare.
Hmm.
Leave cricket where it is, take the learnings, but don't try to be cricket as well. You can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. Even like when we work with brands, no, like there's no comparison. Like how
Absolutely.
how how do you expect that I'll give you the same impression and
Yeah,
reach as Virat Kohli's tweet,
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
With due respect to Virat Kohli, but like it is like comparing apples to oranges. That
absolutely.
it's not possible at all.
Yeah.
And but it's interesting to see the interest from brands in the non-cricket space as well.
Yes.
And kudos to Neeraj Chopra, who has become the
Yeah,
ambassador of
yeah,
how in non-cricket,
yeah,
it's a lot of like FMCG companies or mobile phone
yeah,
companies, automobile segment, and they reaching out to us and saying that hey, we want to work with XYZ athletes
yeah,
and all mostly Olympic sports and lesser known sports, and it gives me immense satisfaction that, and I'm also grateful that I'm there at the right place at the
correct.
right time. I'm sure you feel the
Yeah,
same. Recently with the success that we had in the chess
correct.
olympiad, and imagine everybody's social media feed was
Yeah,
buzzing with
yeah,
chess content.
yeah.
Who would have thought,
Yeah, and
right?
actually, I just got back from 2 weeks of the Global Chess League, where Mumbai, for us, we have a team called the Upgrad Mumbai Masters, and we had Vidit Harika
Yeah,
from the Olympiad in our team,
yeah,
Humpy and Ronak as well, MVL, part of that team. So the fervor around them, I mean, I'm not kidding. Wherever we went, and I'm talking about London, right?
yeah,
Wherever we went, whether it was at the venue, outside the venue, kids running to Vidit for an autograph, running to Harika and Humpy for autographs and selfies. It's an amazing sight,
yeah,
It's a really incredible sight, and it makes you believe that there's a life beyond cricket. And I think that's something
yes,
that's so heartening. Kabaddi has taught us that as well.
yeah,
And you mentioned it. I think I just want to spend a moment on the ability and the potential for brands to enter non-cricket sports, right?
yeah,
Because people need to realize that there are so many brands that can't afford a ticket to IPL, right? And therefore, your ticket to actually bang for buck exposure and visibility is so high with
Yeah.
sports like a kabaddi, right? Whether it's Yuva series, whether it's Pro Kabaddi and being with a franchise, I just think it's incredible bang for buck. I mean,
Yeah.
you're spending 1/10 of what you'd spend on an IPL team on a jersey, for instance, and you're receiving 1/3 or half of that visibility.
Yeah.
Why won't you do it?
Yeah.
I think just in terms of the target audience, I'm speaking just from a kabaddi purview, 16, 15, 16-year olds to about 40, 45-year olds, women and men both watching, perfect for a D2C product. You hit tier 2, tier 3, and tier 1. From a brand perspective, why would I not do it?
Yeah.
And I think it's just about getting conversations out there, getting the exposure out there, spending money on marketing. Unfortunately, as a startup, that's where the limitation is. We don't have the capabilities to spend the big money on marketing. But otherwise, I think it's the perfect vehicle.
Yeah.
If I was a brand that's selling a product, whether it be an agarbatti or a cycle or a bike or a toothpaste or a hair, a shampoo or an oil, I would go to kabaddi. I would go to other sports that
Yeah.
have the reach, because you're spending so much less and you're gaining so much more,
Yeah.
and you're hitting the same audience,
Yeah.
if not more targeted. So to me, it is a no-brainer for brands to invest in non-cricket sports as well, and in sports that are cheaper to invest in.
Yeah. No, and also for a property like Yuva Kabaddi Series, I'm just thinking there are a lot of region specific brands as
Exactly.
well, right? Some brand, let's say specific to North
Yeah.
India, depending on the climate, food habit, weather,
Yeah.
etc. Specific to South India, East and West.
Yeah.
There's so much that we can do, and I think we as when I say we, meaning you and I, we as custodians of the non-cricket space, there has to be a constant awareness building, because a lot of
Yeah.
times even the brand managers, the media
Yeah.
managers,
They
and
just don't
all
know.
these, they just don't know where to spend the money,
Correct.
right?
Correct. I spoke to someone the other day, and it broke my heart because they came to me and they said, from a very reputed brand, and they said, "Arey, yeah, and she heads marketing in this brand, and she said, the other day, suddenly my CEO came to me and said, you need to deploy 45 lakhs into something." And I said, please give me that money. I mean, it would make a world of difference to the YKS and to our
Yeah.
startup, but these are things that they just, there's money sitting there. They
Yeah.
have to deploy it
Yeah.
with that 2% of CSR today.
Yeah.
And they want to spend on sport.
Yeah.
They want to spend on sponsorship. They don't know where.
Yeah.
And it sometimes it breaks my heart that the most obvious choice therefore is cricket,
Yeah.
and so they go there. But what you're getting for that money there versus what you would get at a Yuva series or at a Pro Kabaddi or whatever else it might be is spectacularly different.
Yeah.
For an athlete, let's say an athlete in football or kabaddi or hockey, you give them 45 lakhs, they will give you all year round coverage, and then some. They will jump through hoops to make sure that the brand is happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there's a very vast difference in what you receive for
Yeah.
what you're putting in.
Yeah. I have a similar story to share. So a couple of weeks ago, Bangalore hosted World Cup, Chess World Cup for
Yeah.
visually impaired
Wow.
players, and this is insane, Suhel. So this World Cup happened outside Europe for the first time. It
Wow.
happened in India. It happened in Bangalore. The only media platform who was there was the bridge,
My God. Well done to you guys.
and I saw for the first time a chess tournament where people across all the parts of the world, Canada,
Yeah.
Kyrgyzstan, Poland, or Ukraine, all these countries, Palestine even,
Yeah.
and oh, it gives me goosebumps because the way they play, the way they
Yeah.
talk. There was a 17-year-old kid traveling with her mother from Delhi, and I was just thinking that what it takes to be a parent of a 17-year-old
Blind
blind
chess player.
kid,
Yeah.
right? And anyways, and then I spoke to the organizers as well, and they have pooled in their own money. The
Yeah.
fund is always an issue and all, and it was so unfortunate. I got to know about this once it progressed, once it
Yeah.
started, and we did a story on this. And after this, I was just casually speaking to a couple of people and a couple of friends who are CEOs of their company, and they said, "Hey Arshi, why didn't you come before?"
Yeah.
I just felt terrible,
Yeah.
terrible that, oh God, I wish. I mean, there has to be
Yeah.
a better way to enable these kind of
Correct.
conversations where we can help each other.
And I think it comes down to awareness.
Yeah.
I think back to 2010, 11, 12. I was, I told you I was running a sports marketing and PR company back then. And, we did it primarily back then to try and raise funds for my brother, who was on the cusp of Formula One.
Yep.
And Formula One is no joke.
Yep.
Two Indians in the history of the sport have made it to Formula One. And even then, I would go around with a begging bowl doing presentation after presentation to brands and sponsors. And they would be like, ROI kya hai?
Hmm.
क्रिकेट से जो मिलते हैं मिलेगा and I'm like, you have the opportunity to put the second Indian into Formula One, someone who's deserving, someone who's proven with results, but they just had no clue.
Yeah.
And that's sadly, like you said earlier,
Yeah.
the sad part is the awareness is not there.
Yeah.
And I do think that firms and brands need to perhaps hire somebody that is familiar with the sporting world
Yeah.
now in their marketing ranks if they want to invest in sport as well from an advertising perspective. I think these tweaks will start to come in for CSR as well. If you want to
Yeah.
take CSR seriously, my advice to brands would be get someone who's familiar with sports that is not just going to do the first obvious thing, that is a safe bet.
Hmm.
The problem is for a marketing person in a company, cricket is safe.
Hmm.
You can show
Yeah.
कि views itna aa gaya.
Yeah.
Whereas you have to work a little bit harder.
But views doesn't necessarily translate into recall and
You and I
buying.
both know this.
Yeah.
You're right?
Yeah.
You and I both know this. Whereas if you do a campaign that's different
Yeah.
with a blind chess player or
Yeah.
a kabaddi player, or a youth product in kabaddi, what you're getting is something unique.
Yeah.
But now that takes a bit of extra work. That
Correct.
takes a bit of
Correct.
mind space. That takes a bit of extra dedication
Yeah.
and extra hours in the office.
Yeah.
So now it's a
That
choice, right?
that's where mad people like you and I exist.
Absolutely. And I'm glad
Yeah.
we do in some
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And in fact, situations like these makes me believe even more in the work that we do.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, Suhail, moving on to you're juggling between so many things, right? So, on an individual level, how do you keep yourself sane, and what do you do to have your mental health sound?
Weirdly, I play more sport.
Ah,
It's
nice.
my getaway from sport is actually playing sport. From playing professional cricket, I don't play cricket anymore because I think if you play anything professionally, you don't derive the same enjoyment if you play with people who are not playing professionally. So I play a lot of paddle tennis. I play golf. I was playing golf. I had a back issue, but I'll play any sport. I'll
What
play.
about kabaddi?
Unfortunately, with knee issues and back issues, I'm going to stay away. I'll watch it, talk about it, and enable others to play kabaddi. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy sport. I enjoy watching really nice shows and series on, and spending a little bit of time at home with my dog and my wife, and getting some time. I know it's very limited at times, and
Yeah.
and I thank, I think, my support system around me for understanding the way I run my life. It's not easy, as you know,
Yeah.
what it's like. My last few days, for example, have been, from back from the UK, going to Ahmedabad, then coming to Hyderabad, back in Coimbatore for the last 2 days, then coming here to Bangalore for one day. I'm in Bombay tomorrow, and then I'm in Hyderabad. And
You're
then I'm back
spending
in
more
Bombay.
time in the
Yeah,
airports.
I was just gonna say I'm spending more time in the air than air hostesses and stewards, I think. But
Yeah.
that's the schedule that unfortunately you're forced to choose at times, right?
Correct.
And but it's a choice.
Yeah.
I'm making that choice. I'm
Yeah.
aware that I'm making that choice. I have the comfort of knowing that people around me are supportive of that choice for now. Who knows when I'll get disowned by my family at some point if this continues. But it's important, therefore, to learn time management. And I think that's something that I'm constantly trying to learn more about and adapt to, because you can't run this space, right? I think at some point you have to slow down. I've already learned the power of saying no to things,
Yeah.
and it's a very strong power. I think when you start to believe in yourself and are secure enough to say no to some things, and still believe that it doesn't mean that your life is going to crumble if you say no
Yeah.
to something. Because yeah, I think if you've worked with people who believe in you, and you are secure in yourself and your abilities, they will understand why you've said no to them, and they will come back and work with you. So I think you have to back yourself a little bit,
Yeah.
and then make space for new things as well.
Absolutely. And also, burnout is real. And if
Absolutely.
if we don't pause at the right time,
Yeah.
it becomes difficult.
100%.
Yeah.
I the only thing I will say is that I'm glad I do what I love, and I love what I do, because as a result of that, it doesn't feel like I'm tired and working
Yeah.
on the same thing over and over again, and so there's energy every time I go and speak to a player, or I'm speaking to our team, or I'm trying to grow a product, or come up with a new IP.
Yeah.
There's an energy with each element of things that I'm doing, and therefore I think it really helps to do what you love and to love what you do. So if anyone's sitting there frustrated doing the same thing over and over again, open your eyes, open your ears to opportunities, because opportunities are there. Quite often, opportunities are coming at us and we say no. We're scared. And I understand that. I've been in places where I've been too scared to shut something down and take that step because it's very uncertain. And
Yeah.
that uncertainty is a very scary place. Right. But today, I think in 2024, the opportunities to take that bold step, it's there.
Yeah.
And if we just open our eyes to opportunities that are coming, I think, like I said at the start, you have a certain dream. My dream was to be a professional cricketer, but I think if you're able to maneuver that dream and move with where life's moving you, I think it's very important to be able to alter your dreams a little bit, because
Yeah.
I think life hits you in directions that you never know.
Right. And talking about mental health, even Yuva Kabaddi Series has a mental health program,
Yeah,
and I felt really happy when I saw the segment on your website as
yeah,
well. Although athletes, we think that, oh, they are sports person, then they are bound to understand how to handle the
yeah,
adversities of life. But unfortunately, that is not the case. And
yeah,
it's so important to address this because athletes go through a lot
yeah.
within them. So, how do you at Yuva Kabaddi series? How do you address this bit with the
So,
athletes?
like I said earlier, I think being an athlete is not about the success stories. It's about all the other stuff that you see. So many athletes will see other athletes in their own team quickly rising, quickly going to Pro Kabaddi from Yuva Series, and quickly burning whatever money that they've received. It's not just about mental health with the sport aspect, but outside of the sport aspect, how do you manage your money? How do you manage your mental aspect of success and failure? How do you manage others around you succeeding or failing? How do you manage the pressures of suddenly entering Pro Kabaddi, right? As a 19-year-old, as a 20-year-old, suddenly seeing the lights, the number of cameras that are hitting you. How do you manage the pressures of your coach telling you to do something that you don't want to do, right? How do you manage your teammates trying to pull you down? There's all these various aspects. We worked with a couple of coaches that came on board, psychologists that came on board as well. We did sessions with players. We constantly try and monitor where the players are at. We've hired team managers per team that keep reporting back to our team as well in terms of what's happening internally within the team. And I think it's very important to keep that open channel of communication, right? I think transparency is the biggest thing that we fail at quite often in life. We're not transparent enough, and we always go back after everything is done. And I've
Yeah.
had this happen to me in the world of broadcast, or in companies that I've worked with as well, where you'll finish an entire project and they'll come to you at the end of the project and say, you know what, all this was crap. And I'd say, but why didn't you just tell me while it was happening?
Yeah.
If you told me when it happened the first time, I'll
Yeah.
tweak it, right? It's
So
very
this
easy to
is,
look back,
yeah.
and I think it's a very Indian thing.
No, this is where working in sprint makes much more sense.
Yes, and I keep saying, when something happens,
Yeah.
point it out,
Yep.
solve it then.
Yeah.
Most people would appreciate a conversation then, so that they can also learn, they can also adapt, they can also change. Why wait for someone to fail?
क्योंकि ब्लेम करने में ज्यादा मजा आता है
Wohi
ना.
na? Exactly. And this is my biggest grouse with so many leaders,
Yeah.
right? How can you be a leader if you are seeing someone fail and you're not pointing it out, and you're waiting for them to fail?
Yeah.
And after they fail, you come and tell them, you failed, see you later. What joy do you get in that?
Yeah.
I mean, I truly believe that as a leader, you should be making someone feel enriched. You should make someone feel constructive in their day. You should give them constructive criticism.
Yeah.
You should tell them how to grow,
Yeah.
not why and how they failed at the end of their failures,
Yeah.
and then say bye bye. I just think this.
We have this policy in the bridge where we say that all the positive feedback has to be given in team meetings and all the negative feedback has to be
One on
given
one.
one on one.
Absolutely.
And it's so important. And these days, I read up so much about toxic workplaces and things like that. And I think, as you have rightly said, all the leaders of the organization, they need to take the ownership of this.
100%. I won't take names, but I've been a part of a couple of very, very toxic environments, and it's led to physical ailments. I've
Yeah.
seen my body, my mind go through hell and back, and I didn't even know that it was happening. But I knew
The media space is so toxic. We all
it's
know.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. And I think that's why leaders, good leaders, step up. That's
Yeah.
why good leaders create a secure environment. They explain things. No one cares. If tomorrow I come and tell somebody in my team that they're going to be let go of, honestly, if it's an open line of communication along the way and they're told in the right manner,
Yeah.
they won't mind. They'll
Yeah.
respect the fact that you have been clear with them and honest with them. It's when you spring a surprise out of nowhere
Yeah.
and you keep saying, "Hey, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job. Bye bye." This happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
This
know what
happens.
happens.
Yes.
And this is the problem. When you then you expect loyalty, why are you going to get it?
Yeah.
Then every person that comes into an organization is going to be on edge, constantly wondering whether they're doing the right thing or not because they'll never know.
And self doubt also.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think these are small things that I do think that sport and firms can do hand in hand. In a sporting team, you want your leader to tell you what you're doing, or a coach to tell you what you're doing along the way,
Mm.
not finish a season and say you should have done this.
Yeah.
Along the way, if you make a mistake, say it
Yeah.
so that I can improve, so that I can work on it, so that I can be better and stay in that sport and stay within the starting seven of a kabaddi team, the playing 11 of a cricket team. If you don't tell me as I'm doing it, I'll never improve.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I think these are small learnings that I've learned from what not to do from watching others.
Yeah. And in fact, that's more important than what to do.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Suhail, yeah, in the interest of time, so where do you see Yuva Kabaddi series 5 years down the line? What is the vision that you have?
In an ideal world, I would like to see Yuva series work hand in hand more closely with Pro Kabaddi. I think it's a natural progression that PKL and us work together to keep talent coming together. We're like a little brother to Pro Kabaddi, right? I think Pro Kabaddi is the elite of the elite. We would love to be an official little brother to Pro Kabaddi League and work with teams more closely, work with the league itself more closely. We'd love to work with talent across the board through the year, across federations. For me, I would love to see Yuva series grow to not just a pan India product, but a global product as well. We're taking steps towards it as we speak. But more than anything else, I think we'd like to keep creating an impact, and think if that impact can be bigger and bigger and bigger, and if we can grow the pie, give back more to the players, give back more to the officials, give back more to stakeholders that invest in kabaddi. I think it'll make me a very, very happy co-founder, because we're doing this to make an impact.
Yeah.
As you said earlier, it's very easy for Arvind or myself to not do this and go do other jobs,
Yep.
right? I can be a broadcaster all my through the year and I can make enough
Yeah.
money to be happy.
Yeah.
Arvind has been in IIT, IIM, McKinsey. He can easily find a job anywhere in the world. Same with Danya or anyone else in our team. We're choosing to do this. We're choosing to chew our own brains and fry ourselves at times in the belief that we're doing something that's creating an impact. And I do hope that in 5 years' time we have more very good brands, firms, support, funding that comes in from people that believe in the power of sport and want to create an impact with the power of sport in communities. And if we can get that going, I know there's people out there that want to do it and
Yeah.
are looking for places to do it. I do think that we can be a strong vehicle to make an impact in sport. So, yeah, I think over the next 5 years, month by month, year by year, we'd like to just see what we're doing, grow and grow and grow. That's all.
I'm sure it will happen. I'm very hopeful because you have got all the right ingredients to make it successful.
Thanks, Ashi.
Yeah.
Teri muh mein ghee shakkar, as they say. So, yeah,
No, no, I'm see, Suhail, I'll tell you why. Because सबको ना बड़े बड़े काम करने में अच्छा लगता है,
yeah,
राइट? बट ग्रास रूट में जाके मेहनत करना सबके बस की बात
correct,
नहीं होती।
correct. बहुत मुश्किल है.
बहुत मुश्किल है, रिटर्न्स नहीं आते जल्दी,
Correct.
राइट? एंड फॉरगेट रिटर्न्स, टू ब्रिंग एवरीबody
Yeah.
टुगेदर एज यू सेड,
And
लाइक
to keep them there.
या
That's a challenge.
या या
Bring everyone together, keep everyone semi happy.
या
23 different federations coming
या
together in some way or form. player communities, stakeholders.
Handling people with fragile egos in
Oh my God.
federations.
Yeah. Yeah. Not just federations, I think everywhere,
Yeah,
right? Players themselves.
yeah, yeah,
It's very, very tough to get everything to work together in a startup environment with limited funding, with limited capacity, with limited resources of people,
yeah,
you know. And I think that's where we have to understand that, what you do in your personal capacity and what you do as a professional in a startup world is very different.
very, very, very.
So, I think there's so many learnings I take from being a broadcaster and from being a sports person myself. And I'm able to then bring it into this world as well. So I always think that while I'm juggling three, four different hats, I think that each one links to each other. Each one has an impact on the other.
Yeah,
And that's why they're able to sort of work within the same ecosystem overall, which is sport.
yeah,
But each one has an impact on the other. And that's why I still juggle the various hats that I do, because I do think that there's a positive impact on the other from the other.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah. Okay, Sohail, thank you for speaking with us, and we can go on and on. And I'm glad that we did this interaction.
Ashi, thank you for this
Yeah,
chat, because I always look at you guys and keep saying you guys are doing really, really good work in the space. And
thank you.